All right, y'all. So I'm here. I've been here, but my guest is having some technical difficulties. She was trying to go live from her laptop when at first she showed up live on her phone. So we are here, and it'll give you guys a chance to um, come in, get your eyeballs set. So if she can't get in with her laptop, she's going to try to probably come back with her cell phone. So just give me a moment, but I did want to at least click live because I'm sure y'all know that I am up and at 'em and ready to go. I do like being on time. So how is everybody in the chat? We have three sets of eyeballs here, so we will see how many people we get to come in. I am going to shoot her a text message to let her know. Okay, so hold on real quick. I'm gonna say hello, everybody. Just come back in with your cell phone if you can't do it with your laptop. So give me one. Oh, hold on. Devices did not connect. Okay. It says your device did not connect, period. So you might have to come back in with your cell phone. Sorry, y'all. Technical difficulties. Sometimes this happens when you are doing things live, but we're going to work it out. She's um all right, y'all. It looks like we're starting to get some people to come in. Yes, go ahead and get your coffee so we can settle in. You got we'll give her about 5 minutes. So you got a chance to go get whatever you need. If you need to get a beverage or a snack or whatever, we will be in just a minute. We'll be getting started. Okay, well, I see her face popping up.
That was my fault. I have been playing around with downloading the TikTok Live Studio. That thing is really hard to navigate on the laptop, and evidently, when you have one thing up, it will not let you have two things up at the same time. So that's why I was like, "Why?"
Oh, okay. So you are back, and I
This
was
is
I was
better.
like, let me go ahead and start. Okay, hold on.
No, I'm here. I'm just gonna turn the light on. It
You
just looks
know,
really dark.
I'm wondering if I need some light too.
Don't it look kind of dark? I think you look fine. I feel like my shadows don't look. Now my forehead looks shiny, but it's okay.
All right. Well, all right, y'all. So we have Nurse Ash here. Everybody can see her and hear her. Okay. Go ahead and say some profound words real quick, Ash.
Good morning. Good morning. We're always on CP time, so a couple minutes late, like always.
We're not doing too bad.
Right,
Okay.
5 minutes. That's actually
So
pretty good.
so someone did say I am a bit dark. Hold on. I do feel like I'm a bit dark. Hold on.
I was about to say, compared to me, I'm in my orange room, so the orange room probably doesn't help. Oh, I gotta turn off this. The caption looks really weird. Hold on.
A lot of times I'm outside making videos, so you get the natural light. Um, but I mean, there we go. We're here. Y'all can hear us. That's the whole point. So we will see if we get folks coming in. I got Nurse Ash, and I introduced Ash a couple. And what's funny is, I go by Ash too, but today I'll be Burb. Today I'm just Burb. I'm not Ash. Um, we got Ash here, and what I like about Ash, the other day she was on her TikTok live, and
I'm gonna grab some water. Go ahead and talk.
when she goes live on TikTok, she has two phones. She goes live from one page and then she has another page up because she's consistently putting data and things up. I think in order for me to use like the screens and different things to put up different things, I think that I have to upgrade my StreamYard because I haven't yet figured out how to put like data points and stuff up. Um, but that's the reason why I wanted to go live here because she was talking about things like percentages. Oh, look at her. She got the data. She was talking about things like how many people, the percentage of folks that are registered to vote, that vote, and how they swing the votes. So go ahead and give us a layout on what you were saying, what they're targeting, and just act like this is your TikTok live and some of the things that you usually talk about.
First of all, good morning and or afternoon. My name's Ashley. So, um, I mean, I'm a nurse, but I just love data analytics, and I do research analytics and also data analytics on TikTok. I talk about healthcare stuff a little bit, but most of the time I don't. A lot of times I talk about social issues connected to mostly Black people, but just general issues. But specifically, when she came into the live, I was talking about voter issues. It was a political analytics live on day one on my Throwback Thursday live. But whenever I was doing that live, I came across some information that was basically saying Black women vote the most. And I was like, So I did a deep dive into that, which led me to yesterday's live. So Black women have been consistently voting, having high turnout in voting pretty much since Obama. And we've been showing up and showing out. We had higher voting turnout a little bit before then also, but it predates back into Brown v. Board. And whenever I was looking into this, we have been kind of raised in this environment where we've been doing civic engagement since we were children.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, what is it, Ruby Bridges? Where that we've been placed into civic engagement. So it's just kind of normalized for us to get active at very young ages. And I think it just naturally led us into higher than usual voter turnout because they have programs like or organizations like Black Girls Vote, and I can't think of the other one. But when I went live, I was talking about things like that because I feel like we can get that up higher. But
You think we can get it higher than 91%? So,
so 90% were like voting for whoever they wanted to. The average voting percentage, like voter turnout, is actually pretty low. Like it just depends on the racial demographic or gender different demographic. But for white men and women, it's about the mid 60s.
mid.
And it
So,
gets
hold on,
confusing
hold
because
on.
you have the electorate, like these are the percentage of people who are actually eligible to vote.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. The numbers that you're about to quote, these are the amounts of people that are registered to vote or who vote.
Yeah, so you have the eligible people who can vote versus the actual people who turn out to vote. And they talk about who actually can vote and who are actually registered to vote versus who turn out to vote. So it's like completely different like categories of people who register to vote versus who turn out to vote. So hold on, let me pull this up so I can have. I was gonna write it down, but I was up. I ain't gonna lie, I was up last night watching some political debates and it got juicy. So let me pull it up.
So, you know what? Hold on, y'all. I think somebody is moving outside of my window. I'm about to close this. I don't know if y'all could hear that, but they're like can you hear anything?
I kind of hear it.
Okay.
I thought somebody else was requesting to come up here. I was like,
They're loud outside. Hold on.
I thought there was somebody throwing somebody around. So voter turnout is actually pretty low. And this is the actual percentage of people who registered to vote that actually voted. So
Okay. Here we go. That's
it's
better.
usually about 60% for
Overall.
well, they break it down by race because it's a big contrast depending on by race. So for white men and women, it's usually in the mid 60s. White women vote a little bit more than the men do. So it would be like 65% for white women, 63% for white men. Um, about the same for black women, actually vote as high as white women, men, and women do.
Okay.
So they would actually be about 65% also in the mid 60s. It varies by election year, but it usually mid 60s for black women, white men, and women. Black men actually high like 59 to 60% consistently, 58 to 60%, I would say, every single election year I've seen. Hispanic Latino actually high mid 50s, 50
Okay.
percentile 50. And then the Asian community would also be the actually 40 to 50%, and so would indigenous. They don't actually, I have not seen any data on Hawaiian Pacific Islander at all.
Hmm. Do they get put into a different category?
I don't know if they just don't check them at all or if they put them in Asian, because sometimes they throw them in with Asian.
Mhm. So now, I know that they come for us, but I know that Black women, I know Black people are only like what, 13, 14% of the population. So what are like the total numbers? Because I know that percentage numbers are important. Let's get these numbers up. But what are do they ever show you like what are the total numbers of Black women that are voting? Because I know that we're like focusing probably on the white women suburban voters or whatever. Like, what is it? Is that enough to actually swing something important because the total numbers are, high enough?
So black women secured Obama's election, re-election, and Biden's election.
Okay, period. Period.
Yeah. Period, point blank. And I was like, we are 7.8% or maybe 6 to 7% of the population. So to be able to do that to me is just wild. And I was just trying to figure out how the heck were you able to secure that much. But so when I did like a deep dive, it was just because overall white women vote about 50-50. If you're talking about Democrat, Republican, they vote about 50-50. Um, I'm looking off so I can actually, I'm picturing the numbers. Hispanic individuals vote about 60-40 Democrat leaning, and then Asian do 70-30 Democrat leaning. Um, Black men typically vote 90-10. In the Biden Trump was 85-15 for some reason.
That's wild.
I know. But Black women have consistently been 95-5.
So Clubhouse Crime is wondering what data source are you looking at right now?
So Pew Research, and then also Pew Research, they did an analysis of the 2022 American Community Survey. Also, they did a poll themselves on top of the New York Times. So, just as a side note, whenever I do my lives, I source a few different sites, just because for research to be considered valid, you have to have multiple sites.
Right.
It has to be You have to be able to reproduce it with similar results.
Right.
So I just don't like pick one place and be like, look, weedaish.com. I actually have multiple sites that have similar results. So if you go to Pew Research and actually type in, for instance, hold on, Biden's, I wonder if it's this one.
Can you put it in the chat? Do you see the chat on your end?
Is it join? Oh, join the chat. I'm sorry. Connect.
Because you can put links in.
Oh, okay. This is actually, yeah, this is my first time being live, so let me see. Oh, it is asking for a lot of stuff.
So while you're doing that, Sun says, it doesn't surprise me that Black women are more involved in civics at an early age. We are constantly being indoctrinated, adultified, and used for our emotion, labors, and spirit. And the the thing is, yes, we are constantly being used, but also we have to fight for ourselves. We have to advocate for ourselves, because if we don't advocate for ourselves, we will just get smashed. We are a double minority at least. And then don't be queer on top of it. Don't be disabled on top of it. Don't be, like poor or something. So we have to advocate for ourselves, because who's going to advocate for us?
Yeah, it kind of irked me because I was when I did my live, I was like, wait a second. When they did stuff like Ruby Bridges and why didn't they have black boys going in being the first ones to integrate?
I Yeah, but weren't there some in the like Arkansas Five? No,
Said it failed to post. Hold on.
uh, weren't there some in the Arkansas Five? Well,
Because
You
it
know,
was it was like a big thing. They knew it was gonna, make, I don't know if it, because somebody said in the comments that they thought a girl would be less threatening than like a boy at the time. So that's the reason why.
or maybe they thought that maybe folks wouldn't attack a girl as easily. I don't know. I don't know the whole point of it, but yes,
Hold
it's
on, let me
like,
try.
huh?
Hey, I'm trying to see if okay that worked. So yeah,
Yes, I see you. Yep. So
it
you can
won't let
just
me
drop.
do links. So I'm gonna do the
It won't let
actual
you. It won't let
title.
you put a link. Okay. So I I got Ultima Enigma is my virtual cousin. So I'm just gonna shout out to my virtual cousin, because she said I was a cousin in her head. So I'm just gonna say, hey, cousin. All right.
This is what you guys can Google because it's from the Pew Research Center. That is the title of one of the articles.
All right, so and I put it right up here on the screen, behind Biden's 2020 victory. If people want to look up where she's getting some of this, but that's one of the differences between us. And you can tell when people are college educated, they know that, yeah, you don't just look at one link. You have to look at several different things in order to get some information. You don't just play around and say, oh, well, ABC News said. No, that's not that.
And I absolutely love Pew Research Center. Matter of fact, if you guys want a source to go to for a lot of different studies and research, I highly recommend Pew. Also, just for um, voting and politic related stuff, USA Facts is a good one too.
USA Facts. Okay, so
Mhm.
we got USA Facts. But like Ultimate Enigma said, my virtual cousin, we are used for our femininity in political combat. We are less threatening, but we are mules. And then we get called masculine, and then we get called all kind of derogatory terms. But by the same token, when we do pull back, we get castigated as well.
I don't think we were actually. I'm sorry, I was looking for something. I don't think we were ever. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we were never given femininity, especially back then. That we were never seen for feminine beings back then. So not from the white people.
No.
Not during civil rights. They were like, oh, they're so nice and feminine. Let me just see them as virtuous creatures and not throw them dogs on them, not throw the water hoses on them.
Yeah, we've been mules. We've been chattel for like forever. I don't know when we got a chance to actually be women. So I don't even know if we get a chance to be a woman these days, because even just simply being an adult that can take care of ourselves, we are seen as masculine.
I think
Um,
they're less likely to tie you up compared to like black men. Don't get me wrong, but you still was getting the black treatment just like them. You know.
so basically what it comes down to as far as politics and where things are leaning, what are you seeing? Are you hopeful? Are you seeing a shift? What I was saying the other day on TikTok, I don't know if the people that are in the chat are actually on TikTok. But, and I don't know if you had a chance to look at this, but there is a group called Republican Voters, Republican Voters Against Trump. Republican Voters Against Trump. And what I am heartened by, what makes me a little um, hopeful, is that so many of these people are white. There are a lot of white men that are voting against Trump, I'm saying, because, I have been a never Trumper for a long time, and it's been for several reasons. It's not just because, I have what do they call it? Deranged Trump syndrome or whatever, but no, like he doesn't run anything well. But the fact that there are white men who have voted for Trump, voting against Trump, and actively speaking out against the things that he has done, military men voting against Trump, women, evangelicals voting against Trump, it makes me a little bit hopeful. Not hopeful enough to pull the brakes, put the brakes on, but put the gas on hardcore. So if you guys haven't seen Republican Voters Against Trump, that is a good TikTok to do a deep dive into if you want to see where some of these people are leaning. Let's see.
It's really refreshing because more of them voted for Donald Trump also. If you go to that same let me see if I can pull it up. That same source that I gave y'all. Let me see if I can find it. More of them actually voted for him than previously than they did Clinton also. I think they got buyer's remorse. Let me sure. Yep. Especially so that he got the conservative leaning voters, but the moderate Republicans, he got less of them.
How old are Republicans?
They typically tend to be a little bit older. The younger Republicans, that's funny. I actually did a live about how the younger generations are they're becoming less conservative. Younger people typically are not conservative. As you get older and hopefully you get the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the dog, and you become conservative because you don't want people to take your stuff, and you want to get your taxes. The Republicans, the top 3 things they worry about is the economy, taxes, and them dang immigrants taking their jobs. So you typically turn that way. However, starting with millennials, and I just skipped Gen X for some reason, they're set not to ever inherit stuff. They're set not to inherit the boomer money because boomers ain't got no money. So I always said it was silent generation, and boomers are more conservative leaning. Gen X is a 50-50 split. Millennial and Gen Z are I and I with being more liberal / progressive, and I'm talking about like 75% or more, roughly.
So real quick, Son wanted to know if I was sick or if I had allergies. So let me just do a quick why I keep clearing my throat or whatever. We just moved to Las Vegas about 5 or 6 weeks ago. It is hot here, so you have to turn on the air conditioner. But when the air conditioner is just blowing in my face too much, it caused my sinuses to be jacked up. But if I turn the air conditioner off, I started getting a heat rash on my neck and on my arms. So if I get too hot, I start breaking out. If I get too cold, my sinuses, I was getting a sinus headache. I was getting stuffy. So my body is getting used to this, or trying to get used to living in Las Vegas. So I am feeling fine. I just got some sinus stuff going on with my body, trying to say, like, what is going on? It's supposed to be 70 degrees where you live. So that is what's going on with me. And I moved from the Chicago area. And in the Chicago area right now, it's supposed to be fall. It's supposed to be maybe it's about 70 degrees, whereas where I am currently, it's probably about 90 degrees or something right now. No, it's 84 degrees right now at 9:30 in the morning. So that is what's going on with me right now. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. I had to just interject that. That is why I got my water. I'm feeling fine. I'm just a little, cloggy or something. So,
And also to reply to Sunday said you tend to become more insular as you age. I agree. If people, the majority of people will marry or just partner up and have children, that makes them more, I say selfish, but to be more diplomatic, they become more family focused, I will say. So they aren't as aware or focused on outside people. So they like single people, and I say single people, I mean women, typically are more engaged with community. They are more politically engaged. They're more likely to be active with things like that. So they are also more likely to be um, moderate, progressive, liberal, and things like that. So they also typically are voting Democrat too.
all right. So now let's get into some of this other stuff. So, Ultimate Enigma says 37% of the US population has a bachelor's degree. Does this play into politics? I know you already got the screenshot for that.
So when I said this, the amount of windmilling I got in my comments, I could have had free energy for the rest of my life.
You might get wind cancer though because of wind.
Yes. Yes, thank goodness I could be able to hopefully get the early diagnosis and treatment. But actually just I wasn't surprised when I found this data out just like yesterday. The less I'm gonna say it this way, the less education you get, the less likely you are to vote. And also you're not the less likely you are to vote um the more likely you are to vote Republican.
Yes, just say it. Say it. Don't.
Donald Trump Donald Trump voters are MAGA voters are uneducated.
What? Hold on. For the
They
people that
have they do majority of them do not have high school diplomas.
they don't have high
Um,
school diplomas.
yes. So his voting base it literally was on that same, I think, let me make sure. Um I think that was one of my screenshots.
She's she's looking, but she said Donald Trump's voters typically
The
barely
ones that
graduate.
voted for him had less than a high school diploma. It was from, and interesting enough, when it came to once again, when it came to Black people, it didn't matter if you had a high school diploma or not. You did not vote for him. It was pretty much other groups of people.
Wow.
You weren't. It didn't change your voting pattern at all. It was. I wanted to get the actual number, but I don't have it on here. So let me pull it up on the actual. You know, I be switching phones so many times.
Right. And like CC says, and they have the audacity to question Kamala's intelligence. But that's the thing. We already know as Black women, we're going to get questioned regardless. We already know that, if we are successful in anything, it's simply because we are Black or we are women. We don't get to succeed, or, we're the token or something like that. We don't get to succeed because we actually put in the hard work. That's the reason why I'm so glad that there are so many outlets for us to be able to talk and put ourselves in front of things. Whereas in times past, we had to be filtered through somebody else's image of us. And we were always a stereotype. But I'm so glad that we have TikTok and YouTube and all of this stuff. Um, let's see. What is the correlation? Did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah. So for Black college graduate Biden Trump split was 92-8 voting. Some college or less 92-8. Um, this is a Pew Research validated percent of validated voters who reported voting for each candidate. YT college grad was 57-42 Biden favor. White some college or less 33-65 Biden Trump. Hispanic college grad 69-30 Biden favor. Hispanic some college or less 55-41 Biden favor.
Wow.
Now, the one that I have the graph, I think it might be on this other phone.
Okay. So while you're looking for that, Clubhouse Crime says Trumpers may be less educated, but they aren't poor. That's a misconception. I remember that in 2016, the median income was higher than Clinton voters. Don't remember seeing for 2020. Any thoughts on that?
Biden gained some support among suburban voters. I know he did. Um, I think he does have a larger.
Maybe he has a larger percentage of millionaires, so it brings up the median. It brings up the average.
Well, so what I was trying to figure out is if because I thought more educated people tend to vote for Democrats, so they voted for Biden also. More educated people make money. The more educated you get, the more degrees you have, the more money you make. So I was thinking like, but also the more money you make, the more likely you are to vote Republican, right? Because you want to keep your taxes, but you have to also be like a millionaire. You have to make millions for that to be like a thing. But I also seen somewhere that the more money you make, the more you are also to vote Democrat. So that was actually confused about that.
Okay.
So
So
I got to find that. I got to find which place I seen that because I was actually confused myself. But I think that's what it was people who make not, and I'm not saying every millionaire because most millionaires they're not dumb, and they tend to end up going back to school even if they got their millions, outside. They didn't have high school, they just got their high school diploma, then they became millionaires. A lot of times they go back to school somehow. They get a they get a business degree, they do something. But yeah, I seen that and I was like, my thought process was, but it ends up being people like Bernie Sanders. He was like, or people there. I've heard of people say, you guys can tax me, I don't mind it. You just don't do it. So I was just like, but let me look something up because I found it somewhere.
So while you're doing that, Brioche says blue collar workers can make money too, and a lot of business owners also vote for Donald Trump. But the thing is, I don't understand why business owners vote for Donald Trump. The way he like was screwing over people that worked for him. Like, why would they actually vote for Donald Trump and he would contract workers and then not pay them? The way he would go broke with his own, like he has no integrity as far as business. That's one of the main reasons why I'm like, he is not a good business person. Why do business owners support him? So I was always very confused about that. But she says, I don't agree with it at all. People thinking him being a businessman automatically translates to him being an econ whiz. Okay. But CC says they don't want to pay taxes. Simple as that.
Oh
And
yeah.
he doesn't want to pay taxes, so that makes sense.
Again, I think a good portion of people who voted for him was like, I just don't want to pay taxes. And I'm like, fair. I mean, petty, but fair. So, let me see. I know previously the first round, like for Clinton, they voted they voted for like white men who voted for Trump wanted to keep their taxes. I mean, yeah, they wanted their money. The ones for Biden that voted for him, that's the ones that I'm not sure of.
Yeah.
That's the ones that I was looking for. Because I know the median income for the Clinton Trump voters was higher. It was like 70,000, which is still not high. Like you weren't keeping your money at 70,000 versus the 50,000 or something like that voted for Clinton. You would have had to been millions of theirs. Like it didn't make sense to me. The tax cuts for middle class or upper middle class didn't apply to you. You would have had to have been a millionaire for this to apply to. So if you made 100K, what was you talking about?
So
I, I
what is middle class currently? Like how much do you make to be in middle class?
I think it's 100 to, well, it depends on how many like kids the household, but I thought it was 50 to 150 for
50 to 150 is middle class?
yeah. But I can't remember if that's one person or two people, like a family, like one, like me as a single person, or a family. But I think it's 50 to 150 because I when I did my live about middle class, I think I based that off of being a single individual.
Because if you're on the West Coast, if you're in California and you make $100,000, you need to make $100,000 as a minimum wage.
That's why the range is so big, because one of the reasons why I started going live was to counteract a lot of the talking points that men had, like especially black men. But um the whole what was some of those talking points, like we make more money than you, or the majority of us don't have kids, or just the dumb stuff. But one of the things that they were saying was the majority of black men are in middle class. I'm like, well, middle class starts at like $40,000 for one person. So what kind of flex is that? It depends on what state you're in. So if you go around saying the majority of us are middle class, and middle class starts at 40,000 and the average black man makes 50,000, then yeah, that would be like actually true. But 40,000 ain't nothing in Cali. So I mean,
No. And like
and
hands,
everybody's in middle class with that. Me too. I'm in middle class. All black women are in middle class too.
yeah, like Hands Off Black Girl says 50K used to be middle class, but 50K these days, you're barely scraping by as a single person. The
Yeah, I
way,
mean, if 50K in Cali, you houseless. You houseless.
right. Oh man. All right. So where are we? We got 29 sets of eyeballs on here. You guys can ask her any questions that you guys might have. And are you guys all registered to vote where you are? Just jump into the comment section. Are you registered to vote where you are? What are the people in your area saying, like, as you're having these conversations about politics? What is the climate that you're seeing there? Uh, so let us know. What when you did you go back live the other day after I let you off the phone? Ooh, she says she's in Texas.
I did. I wanted to, I mean, finish talking about the things that I had. That way I could know what I was going to talk about for here. Um, because some of the content when I go live, I kind of skim through my nice little speed read, but I haven't really done as deep of a dive. Um, so I'm learning as I'm doing the live. Like
Mhm.
I kind of hit the high points, kind of got the highlights of what I wanted to see. You know, like if you look at the article that I posted, I really wanted to see the parts of like how black people voted for Clinton, the midterms, and then for Trump and Biden. But I really didn't go into like how the religious people voted or how suburban people voted. So whenever I did the deep dive during that live, I was like, oh, okay. So I finished out the live for that reason.
So we do need to talk about Texas and Georgia. So I know that they have gerrymandered the hell out of Texas. Seems like the same thing is going for Georgia, but both of those states have urban areas that have the capacity to turn these states blue. Do you have any kind of data on that?
So thank goodness Georgia turned blue before the last election. What I never understood previously was why states like Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, look like they're majority black or almost all the way black. Black people tend to always vote Democrat. Like we don't really benefit from Republican policies. And I keep saying, I'm not going to wait for the answer. Name some Republican policies black people benefit from. Because it's the reason why we vote overwhelmingly Democrat. We don't really benefit from taxing all these people who make up, taxing the poor. What are you going to tax us to death for? So that's why we tend to vote way more than any other group of people Democrat, because we just benefit from those social welfare programs. But that's because they gerrymandered the crap out of those states. And basically, I don't even know if I can explain gerrymandering correctly, but when you gerrymander an area, you're like, oh, all the black people are in Atlanta. Cool. Let me map out Atlanta so I can put all y'all together so all y'all votes count as one. Instead of like mapping it out by maybe like a county or, making it make sense. So gerrymandering, I know like the guy was named Jerry or something like that. So he created that. And when you look at some of these maps, they have some of the weirdest kind of drawings. They look like lizards and all kind of weird kind of shapes, because they'll see, oh, all the Democrats are kind of like this, so let me put the map like this. They make it the weirdest shape so that all the Democrat votes can fit into one spot, and those votes will count like that.
And the craziest thing is so many people don't know and understand, like, how the Supreme Court has allowed these Republicans to keep on. Is it the Supreme Court that's allowing them to stay gerrymandering, or is it just these state governments that's like policing themselves? What is keeping these gerrymandered areas? So, because anybody can look at this and see this is not fair how they're doing this.
I think it's the states, because some of the states have changed their own kind of gerrymandered area.
So,
What has helped, and they also do voter suppression, but what has helped with gerrymandering is the increase in diversity, and also changing voter suppression. Some areas have had, and also the decrease in incarceration, especially when it comes to Black people. Black women's incarceration went down by 70% over like 20 years, and Black men went down by about 48%. So if everyone's not being incarcerated as much, not being felons as much, they're able to actually, vote. And Black people overwhelmingly vote, for Democrats, so Democrats can be able to get into local positions. If people turn out at 60-50% for major elections, they've turned out 10-20% less for the smaller elections. So they're not showing up and showing out for the smaller elections either.
Okay. All right. So, but with the way, what about the way that these abortion referendums are on there? Is that making people overwhelmingly come with the whole, Roe v. Wade falling? Did that give a bump in how many people rush to vote, especially during the midterms? Because we know that the midterms don't usually get a big push.
When did that even happen?
I think it was June 2022.
Because I was like, I don't know when the
it happened right before the 2022 midterms, which was November 2022.
Because the whole we're gonna open it up to let the states decide. The states didn't even put a lot of the abortions on the ballot, so people weren't able to vote.
But even when they were trying to put it on, so all of the 7 that got put on the ballot, abortion rights won. But then now that people are trying to put it on this one, the Republicans and the pro-lifers are trying to get them X'd off for whatever, talking points they want to get X'd off. So I don't know how many are officially on the ballot for this upcoming thing, but it seems like women's rights are the driver. And I just wonder if this is going to be so inflammatory, like Roe falling is big enough to actually get that percentage up higher.
I hope so. Um, Hold on.
So Karina says
I
I'm a
really
bit,
hope so.
huh? What's that?
Especially for like people who, because more and more people are being affected by it, especially in like Texas and stuff like that. My only fear is that it happened so long ago and so much stuff has happened since then. People are going to be like, oh, I completely forgot, because like
How?
Trump has done so much crazy stuff since then. Like, imagine how much crazy stuff has happened since then. It's not like that happened and nothing.
There's always something.
There's
There's
always something. It's not like, if it was just a pandemic and then this election, I could see, but it's almost like it's been a fever dream since then, like a crazy fever dream.
so let's see. I know it has, but it's like, we have the all of these women that are taking the states to court because of bleeding out or people like being so harmed. Oh, girl, this is something that I'm sure that you know, or have the numbers for, how all of these physicians are leaving these states, or like people not doing their residencies in certain states because of all of these bans. Have you seen those numbers where people are fleeing, where they don't even have a labor and delivery department in their state or their county?
I don't have the numbers because I actually was going to do a live about that. It was on my list about I forgot exactly what the live was going to be about, but I was going to have to look up the information because I think I was going to talk about Black infant mortality. But I do know for states like Alabama, there's only a handful at this point. And there's a huge decrease in them even willing to do like residency at
Right.
this point. They don't even want
Because
to learn, which is sad. That's actually pretty scary that you don't even want to learn about the process. So there's less people willing to learn about birth, which if a woman comes into the ER actively in labor, somebody's got to know how to deliver the baby. So if there's less residents willing to learn about the process, and less people willing to actually be OBGYNs, this is a problem because you can close all the OB units down. Like in my home state and my actual hospital that's in, from a small town, there's only one hospital. That actual OB closed, I mean, that OB unit closed down. So they can't deliver babies in the actual OB unit, but they still have to be able to deliver babies in that actual ER. So if the woman is beyond like they're literally crowning the baby's about to come out, they can't ship that woman off anywhere. The baby has to come out in that ER. So just imagine the ER doctor. They didn't skip that whole ER residency. I mean the OB residency because they were too afraid. So just imagine that.
it's going to be bad. And the crazy thing is, these people don't understand or have foresight, like pushing these physicians away, being antagonistic to the current crop of physicians there. Why would young people want to say, you know what? I'm going to go to Idaho. I want to go to Idaho to go to school there. I want to go to Mississippi. I'm going to go to school there. I want to go to Alabama. Like, why would anybody want to go to school there? And why would women want to go to school in these places? Number one. And if women don't go to school there, why would football players want to go to Alabama? Why would football players run off to Idaho? So this is going to make women leave, and it's going to make the men rethink where they go to school as well. So it's going to be kind of wild what we see as far as numbers in the near future.
I know let me see if I can look this up. I know there's a decrease in medical school applicants in those. I mean, there was a decline overall, but there was a decline A 4.7% decline in 2023. Yeah. So roughly about a 5% decline. That's a lot. Actually, that's a lot.
And what are you looking at?
Let me go to they're like, oh, we don't know if it's because of COVID.
So Phil Purple says they're going to have to start incentivizing with loan repayments to attract physicians. Brioche says no one in my class raised their hand when the professor asked if we'd accept a job in an abortion ban state.
Like you don't
Cl-
want those problems.
huh?
Research and Action Institute. You don't want those problems. I wouldn't even want to. I don't even want to work in a state, honestly, that has those problems. I don't even work in a unit that has to deal with that. I don't work in OB. Honestly, I don't. I don't want them problems. But I don't work in the ER and I don't work in the L&D or OB.
And this is a good one. This is going to cause global issues. Oppression causes global issues. Like Ultimate Enigma says, immigrant doctors from other nations will be in demand. So we'll take the resources from other countries, and those countries will be lacking, all because we can't stop oppressing people. So it's like the way we import nurses, the way it's and so then those countries are left with a dearth. And then they wonder why these other countries start trying to clamor to the United States. Well, we sit up and jack up their whole economy because we're taking all of their resources, their human resources, their physical resources. And the way we do things here in this country is so jacked up because we just need more and more and more and more.
I forgot to turn off my AC. Hold on.
Yeah, so let's see. She says, a doctor from India will come to Alabama. And then we have these people that come from these other countries, and then we act all racist to those people because they don't speak with the perfect American accent. It's just a whole big cluster F.
They're gonna have to relax their doctor requirements too, because a lot they actually, I don't know if you've actually looked into the requirements they have for doctors coming over here. They they're actually a little bit, I mean, I get it. They're a little bit more extra than they are for, it's easier to be a doctor and leave the country. Actually, it's the same thing for nurses. It's very easy for me as a nurse to leave this country and go anywhere else than it
Mhm.
is for a nurse to come here. So it's a lot of doctors will be a doctor somewhere else in another country, come here and then like fail whatever test they have to do and actually end up being a respiratory therapist. Actually, not a respiratory therapist. I think they're like physical therapists. Sometimes they're nurses, PAs, nurse practitioners, things like that, because they'll fail like whatever they test they have to take or the process that they have to do.
So, Ultimate Enigma says US standards are globally recognized as a first world nation. But the crazy thing is, like, we might be a first world nation, but it just seems like there's such a wide gap from the educated to the uneducated. And we see this daily. We see this daily with people who can barely use commas and periods when they talk to us, when they can't use women and woman correctly. Like, the woman, they like to take the man's money, like they can't, like it just seems like it's such, like, yes, we have high standards in the US, but it just seems like the ones that are uneducated is a big group. I don't know if it's just me thinking this, but it just seems like a lot of people are completely uneducated.
This says, I had to look this one up. This says the average state saw in total, on average, it was a 10% decline in senior applicants for the doctors, but the change varied by state. It could be 19%, ranging from a decrease of 19%. It could be, or it could be 30%, or it could
um
be a decrease of 30%. So some places had more, but it could be a 19% decrease.
Decrease in what? I'm sorry, I missed part of that.
The residency applicants. I'm sorry, I had to look that one up because I was like,
Wow, that's big. This is going to have big implications.
I typed in the article that I was looking at. It's from the AAMC, the American Association of Medical Center. I forgot what it's called. Research and Action Institute.
That's
American Association of Medical Colleges. Sorry.
about how long do you think it'll see? But because 20%, 20 to 30% is already high. And that's going to impact these colleges' budgets. But that's just that college. Think about everything else. The food that it takes, that's going to decrease because the students are going to be going to lunch. The people that sell clothes to these things, the I just can foresee all of the tentacles going outward on all of the things that's going to be impacted by this.
Yeah, I mean, medical school is highly expensive. So imagine how much money that is like costing them. I mean,
It,
that's like saying we're not going to law school over there. We're not going to go to law school anymore. Like
it's crazy.
that's got to be a large budget. I
That
mean, I'm pretty sure other programs cost a lot, but it looks like actually this might be a good thing to go live about because this they have certain specialties too that have a decrease, but it looks like emergency. It's not even just that though. They did just say, "F it, we're not going there at all." But like, there's a decrease in emergency medicine. Family medicine has always been a decrease, but the largest decrease actually is in emergency medicine. But that makes sense because they don't want to be bothered with these women. I hate to say that they don't want to experience interacting with these women or these pregnant individuals in an emergency situation. So emergency medicine went down.
wow.
And it actually went down in 2022. Surprising, 18%, and then it went down to 21% in 2023. So
So
surprise.
Brio says one last thing. I think they get away with these new policies because people aren't checking statistics and seeing how it's harming their state, then holding lawmakers' feet to the fire. But the thing is, it's like you don't have to check statistics to. Well, I guess you would, but if you think about it, it's like, is it going to be longer wait times at the hospital? But I guess you wouldn't really know this until you needed to go to the hospital for something.
Yeah, and it looks like it went down the most in the abortion ban states. It looks like just on average, the applicants went down in the gestational limit and for a minor, extent, but that's it. And then slightly where it's legal.
Wow.
So the most it went down, and then all states was a to a lesser extent. There's like
It's
I don't want to get to it all. So they're actually to a smaller extent just not wanting to go because the over time because after COVID they just less people wanted to go into healthcare. Period.
okay.
But out of the people who decided to become doctors after Roe v. Wade, um, they make sense. They were like, I'm not even going to be bothered by going to that state. And why would you? You're not going to learn anything. You ain't going to learn about that process if they're not going to let you do it. So I guess that makes sense. But
And like
there's an increase in the states of applicants in the states that
the blue state.
allow the yeah. Well, they don't have the blue states, but they just have the where the abortions are legal.
So Phil Purple says no one realizes how badly this is affecting medical training until about 5 to 10 years out because they aren't replacing the retiring physicians. So they're not replacing the retiring physicians. They ran people out starting with COVID, the way they were overworking the medical physicians. And some of these states are about to be completely jacked up on so many levels. The way they're burning the teachers out on all levels, they're burning the teachers out. The kids are, running these teachers out. The parents are running the teachers out. Administration is running them out. We are running out medical professionals by, thinking that they're going to criminalize medical professionals simply by doing their jobs. You're running women and girls out and people that actually like women or girls. So these states are about to be jacked up. They're going to be really, really jacked up.
Yeah, because I mean, a good portion of doctors were silent generation doing them old practices and boomers. So the boomers are no longer the highest, most populated generation. Now it is the millennials.
The
So,
millennial, y'all
millenn-
see. Okay, so me, I'm an ex-millennial. I was born in 1980, and so sometimes I am a young Gen X, and sometimes I'm an elder millennial. So, but why are Gen X people always jumped over? Are they just not a big group? Are we
like,
not, I don't even know. Do I say we? Am I not in the, I don't know which one I'm in today. Would you put
not
1980
like
as,
a background a middle child or something. I hate to say it.
do you call me, if I was born in 1980, would you call me a Gen X or a millennial? Or do you just like, I don't know.
I gotta look at what's the ages? Generation.
Sometimes, depending on who writes it, sometimes it's 1980, sometimes it's 1981.
Yeah, I hate that they keep changing that because I want to know about. I'm actually interested in alpha and
Alpha, that's like right now. My kids are
well,
7 and 10, huh?
because sometimes they say it ends in 2023, and then sometimes they say it ends at the end of this year. Most of the time, I say it ends at the end of this year, and I'm like, okay, so what do they end the end of this year or not? Like, so what Gen X?
So Lisa,
Yeah, the end date is 1980. So yeah, you're at the cusp.
so Lisa says Gen X, we're the new silent generation. They just skip us.
Oh, so I mean, because you guys were, for lack of a better word, already abandoned. So I guess they just kept us.
You said abandoned.
Y'all was already ignored, so they said we might as well. Like we've been ignoring y'all already, so we just gonna keep. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are? And they said no.
Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember
So they
that.
just kept saying no. Like
That
it's bad.
that is
So we just
hilarious.
said no, and they kept going. They watched that. They were, I don't know. Yeah, they was watching TV, right? And they said it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are? And the boomers and silent generation said nope, and they flipped the channel. That's what
Like,
they,
oh snap, where is that kid?
I got kids. That's what they said.
So she says solve for X.
So yeah, you're on the cusp.
Yeah. So,
You're-
but the numbers wise, do we just not have numbers?
so I yeah you do, but the
So we got numbers and you still saying we not important?
no. So what it was supposed to be when it comes to like population, it was supposed to be like every other. So boomers high population, Gen X low, millennials high population, Gen Z low. So millennials were supposed to birth a high population, and we said no. So that's why Gen Z was lower population. They're like, okay. They expected alpha to be a high population, and we was like, heck no. So that's why when they disregarded y'all because they were like, cool. If there was a big boom, for boomers, there wasn't going to be a big boom for Gen X. So they disregarded y'all because the millennials got you. We was like, psych. So alpha, there's like 12 million, I think, generation population sizes, which is crazy because there's like 19 to 21 million of every other generation. And I'm like, so I love it for us because, as a child free woman, I'm like, ha 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 ha. Even if they just have a bunch of kids by the end of this year, never. We ain't gonna do it. Not gonna do it. That's why they're so upset. Unless you start importing folks in, there's not. You can't get what 7 more million kids in by the end of
It's
this
bad, and it's like it's cultural. So a lot of these people are looking at straight up numbers, but like, are you are you religious? Are you
year. Not really.
okay? So, but it doesn't matter because you don't have any kids to indoctrinate anyway. So, like me, I was born and raised Christian. I'm agnostic. My husband, he's not religious at all either. We have two kids that are Gen Alpha. They're 7 and 10. Is that Gen Alpha? They were born in
Yeah.
20. So we have two kids that are being raised agnostic. So it's like more and more of these people are going to be raised without religion. And so they're not going to be indoctrinated into having these religions. And boomers were overwhelmingly religious. Silent generation were overwhelmingly religious. And now things are shifting. And these people don't know and understand that culture is what kept people having these babies. That's why they're about to be jacked up, because they're just looking at these numbers and they're not understanding that culture is what is shifting.
Correct. Yeah. And well, and you know what? That's actually I didn't even think about that. That is a lot of us have moved. Millennials actually started the move. Well, YouTube, but like not YouTube personally, but like a lot of a good portion of Gen X have moved away from religion too. But I think a lot of millennials and higher number millennial women have moved away from religion. So you can definitely link that to one of the factors of us having less kids. It's also, expensive. We also are moving against like there's a gender divide. There's a gender war, but there's a gender divide. But where women are becoming more liberal than men, it's more pronounced with Gen Z. But they're sleeping on us millennial women too, especially in the
Mhm.
Black community. So when women get more liberated, we're like, we don't want these kids. We don't want to have kids, or we don't want to have as many. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I like this where she says Gen X, Ultimate Enigma says Gen X witnessed the internet. We went from typewriter to PC in college and dial up internet. We surely did. I had all of that. I definitely was clicking around on a typewriter. Did you, Ash, did you click around on a typewriter? Did you use a typewriter? This is going to be the delineating question. Did you use a typewriter?
I remember peripherally using my grandmother's typewriter once or
Right.
twice.
No. I used the typewriter. Had to replace the ribbon and everything.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, because you have to change out the ink because typewriters used ink.
I remember making a mistake and I was like, how you fix this? Where's the backspace? She was like, honey, you just gonna have to get some whiteout.
Yeah.
Whiteout?
Yes, you had
No,
to
let's
use
grab
whiteout.
get where the keyboard at. Where the
We
keyboard.
I'm going to have to make a community post about that. Did you ever have to use a typewriter with whiteout? That's going to be very interesting to delineate between generations.
Now I'm gonna sound old, but I used to love Murder She. Actually, I still love Murder She Wrote. It's on the Roku TV, and she starts off doo, 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 with the little thing, and I was like, I want to do a typewriter. So my grandma was like, actually, technically, my great grandma has a typewriter, and she whipped it out for me. So I'm like, man, I sound so young. I got me. I'm in my 30s, so yeah, she pulled it out, and I was like, so cool. So yeah, I feel like I'm older because I'm like, I like Murder She Wrote, and shows like that.
So yeah,
So
we've definitely kind of shifted, but I think that we have talked about certain things. I do think that the culture is like we're going to see some numbers, but I think that these numbers that we're about to see will only foreshadow more and more. Like I think it's going to continue to diverge.
so well, speaking of the numbers and the number for Obama's turnout for Black women was record breaking at 70%. No one, not even white people, was turning out for their own folks at 70%. So Black women, not anybody else, not even Black men, but Black women turned out. Their voter turnout to actually vote for Barack Obama was 70%. They turned out to vote. Let me see. Black men voted at, just to compare, I think 60%. I think there was a 10% gap. So I'm like, I won't better than 70%, to be honest. But I'll take 70. I'll take a 70%. I feel like we can do better. Now, when you seen that Target Smart
What is
video, I don't know, with the increase in voter registration for Black women,
that?
young Black women, that's it was from Target Smart, but I think it was on Twitter. But yeah,
So
it, it gives me hope.
whatever you just talked about, text me that so I can see what you're talking about. Target Smart.
Okay. It was on TikTok where they had the cute little graphs where they basically said there's a 175% increase in voter registration for young Black women, 100 basically I think 98% increase in registered voter registration for Black women overall, and
Okay.
then 149% increase for young Latinas, and then 83% increase for the women overall.
All
Voter
right.
registration increase in 4 years.
Send me that. Text me that because I definitely want to see that. Um, so Afro Butterfly, yeah, we have been chit chatting for about an hour now, about an hour and 10 minutes now. I tried to put it on the community post that I was going to go live. I should have done that sooner than I did. I did it this morning, but I want to wrap up by saying, did you have to use a card catalog when you went to the library, where you flipped through and had to learn how to use the library with and use a library card? Did you have to type with a typewriter, and not just type with the typewriter, but learn how to change out the cartridges? Have you ever used a rotary telephone with a long cord, and then you were cooking and on the telephone like this? If you had to do all that, then you are probably Gen X. And yeah, I just completely shifted back to nostalgia
I
type
was
of
about to
thing.
say none for all of those. Although
None.
we, I feel like we learned about the card catalog for libraries, and then they taught us about the whole decimal system. It was like, this is of old ancient time. Thank
Right.
God we got this decimal system, and this is how you
History. History. History.
of old time. And I was like, oh, okay, thank God they have this how they have the if you need to find, I don't know, Stephen Colbert or something like that. If he wrote a book, COL, and then you go looking for it, or if it's
Yeah.
this or something like that. I'm like, thank God they got this. I do remember like the rotary, because some people still. I think my grandma had that
Yeah.
hanging.
Grandmas had that. All right. So this is completely unrelated to anything. All right. So, but what you said, I'm gonna have Ash make sure she sends me that Talk Smart whatever, so I can see it and create some kind of visual, some kind of video for that. But I'm about to wrap this up now. I've been on here for an hour and 15, and typically I only do my lives for about an hour. I don't know how people are always on live for like hours upon hours. I got other stuff. I got other stuff to get going.
It's girl, it takes forever. And usually it's because it takes me forever to get through all that dang data. So my lives are usually like 4 to 6 hours because it takes me forever to get through the data and explaining all that stuff. That's why I never like upload it to here, because I'm like, ain't nobody gonna sit here and watch 4 to 6 hours of me just talking and talking and talking about this research. So
Nah. And it's about time for me to jump into mommyhood. So I'm gonna have to let y'all go.
all right, it was great talking to you though.
All
Get
right.
out and dog.
Everybody, thanks for joining the live. We'll try to go live a little bit more periodically. So, all right, y'all. I will see you later. I'll see you on the next video.
Bye.
Bye, Ash.
Bye.